wir jetzt gerade sehen. Es sind viele leichte Ballverluste auf beiden Seiten. Sigurdsson will weitermachen, Vorteil. Beck zu hoch für Barben.
Es könnte also 1:1 stehen, insofern ist das 0:0 in Ordnung. Irgendwie hat man das Gefühl, Abseitsposition, die nicht erkannt wurde, war eine unglückliche Niederlage für Hoffenheim. Sigurdsson gefällt mir prima. Dahin, daher. Jetzt ist die Chance da! Immer noch da, immer noch da! Kein Elfmeter. Kein Elfmeter erzielt. Und ein Tor, ob das reichen könnte gegen die Bayern, das ist noch die Frage, aber das müssen sie erstmal erzielen. Die Bayern schauen ein bisschen zu im Moment. Schwierig für Van Beuten. Babel. Warum denn nicht Sigurdsson? Der arbeitet. Sigurdsson.
Up comes Gylfi Sigurdsson, and it's two! Al-Habsi wrong-footed, and Gylfi Sigurdsson.
Two-footed, meaning his right foot is absolutely brilliant, his left foot is good. His long-range shooting is outstanding, and his set pieces, corner kicks and free kicks with his right leg, are one of the best in Europe. His weakness is he's not fast. He's not explosive, and he only can play on one position. If you play him on a different position, on a wing, his speed, his lack of pace, lack of speed will kill him. So if you have a player like him, and this is the field, let's say this is my field, my goalkeeper is here, in a 4-2-3-1 system, where would you play?
4-2-3-1.
So 4 in the goalkeeper, 1, 2, 3, 4 in the back, 2 defensive midfielders, 1, 2, 3 attacking midfielders, 1 lone striker. Where would you play? You basically would be exactly from the 4-2-3 in the middle. You need to play behind the striker. You can't play him up front. He's not fast enough. As a number 6 you could play him, but you have a problem because he always gets pulled up front because he's very attacking minded. On the wing he's too slow and he doesn't track back. So on this position he's good. So now he's playing for Tottenham. I did the deal for 13 million euros. So thank you very much. Normally he would play now for Liverpool. I would say if Liverpool would have him, they would have started much better because the tactic of Brendan Rodgers was always based on that position. So he would be the perfect man to play that kind of way. Now in Tottenham, he's not ready yet. And he has the problem, he fills the position of Luka Modric, and Modric is a different player. Modric is much more skillful, smaller, better vision, but he's more a killer. He can score. He was the highest scoring midfielder in the last 20 years in the Premier League, considering the short games he had. He only played, I think he played 15 games, and he scored 8 goals, and that's for a midfielder very, very high.
Szene, weil Kyrgios und Groß waren beide dabei, durch den Schnellpass von Sigurdsson aber ausgehebelt. Und dann ist ja noch Tresch mit zurückgegangen, um die Lücke zwischen den beiden Innenverteidigern dicht zu machen. Und den hat Firmino dann auf engstem Raum ausgetanzt. Also viel besser kann man das nicht machen. machen. Und jetzt aufgepasst, hier kommt Obasi. Also die Wolfsburg aus ihrem Schneckenhäuschen rausgeschossen. Forster. Babel. Ein Handspiel, Schiedsrichter hat alles gesehen. Babel. Sigurdsson und das Schäfer. Kleiner technischer Fehler, wird sofort bestraft mit Ballverlust. Sigurdsson. Firmino gegen Kyrgios. Firmino ist schneller, da ist Sigurdsson völlig frei. Sigurdsson! Aber Babel überrascht. Graf Heitz. Babel. Mit Forster durch die Mitte. So richtig glorreich. Zuletzt 1-4 in Gladbach, 0-3 in Freiburg, heute 1-3 in Hoffenheim und trotzdem sicher eine Leistungssteigerung gegenüber dem Spiel in Freiburg. Aber aufgepasst, Mosona will noch mal.
Powerplay hier aufgezogen. Und das ist ein super Pass von Kroos auf Boateng. Oh, nicht über der Linie.
In the air, one of the best. Right foot, not perfect, but good. He doesn't really play much ground balls, he likes to play the diagonal ball. Right foot onto the left wing, when he can strike the ball, drive the ball, especially when he has no pressure. Okay? His weaknesses sometimes is his strengths sometimes turns into his weakness, because what he does, if you stand up, come, if you always turn around, if you always intercept, you always intercept, what is happening? Sometimes I foul. 20 times, or out of 20 times, 19 times he gets the ball. But this one time, the guy is 1.96 m. He's one muscle. He's very fast for his height. And one time he's coming late. If this big thing knocks you down, I tell you, it's not healthy. African players, that is a proven scientific fact. The bones of an African, especially the head bone, is harder than my bone. Meaning, if a white guy or an Asian guy runs together with a black guy, 9 out of 10, the black guy stands up. Because they're a little bit tougher physically, also muscle-wise, than we are. Now, Forster's problem is, he's the record holder of getting red cards. Because when he comes, he's like a train. He's just running over the guys. So he's a top-class defender with the weakness that he sometimes needs to control his temper. Not always, he's there like a bull. And he wants the ball, like a little kid. He always wants the ball. Sometimes you're coming in and you see I can't get there, you drop, right? That's what all the job of the defender. He doesn't drop, he goes for it.
So I think for especially children, they like to score. So I think if we play small-sided games, they have more chances to score actually on a goal. Second point just stresses what I said. It's about fun and joy. And it's also about making decisions and help them to develop. Because if we play 11 aside, about 20 minutes, I get the ball maybe 10 times, 15 times. If we play 20 minutes 4 aside, I get the ball much more often, both in offense and defense. Next one, I will develop their uniqueness and freedom of expression. Players will learn to solve football problems by themselves. Because there are many situations and the players have to find a solution. And I personally think the last word, by themselves, if you're working with children, it's very, very important. Why? Because if I coach technique, I always do the correction. I cannot let them go if they do it wrong. I say stop, you have to do like this, you have to do like that. But if we play a game, I think it's important the player is able to find his own solution. If we have a game and I'm the coach and I'm always like, pass here, do this, do this, do this, do this. The player, he cannot find an own solution anymore because all the time he will look what I'm saying to him, he will look on me coaching. So I think it's also important, just let them play for a while and they will find own solutions. So what do small-sided games mean for children? It's more or less a little bit repetition what I did before. Flexibility is an important word. If I would copy something now, I would write flexibility, and also like ability to solve situations by finding their own ways. And next one, best football tool to allow players to participate and discover the beauty of the game by their own. It's all the same meaning. They have, especially children, find own solutions. If I use a small-sided game for an adult, for example with tactical things with an adult team, which also happens, of course I tell them what to do. But children, I think it's important to give them some space to develop their own creativity. So we have pressure, we have plenty of touches, we have lots of moves. What else? Dribbling, just the whole program. Vision, because there's more pressure, we have to quickly react, right? Because if I have a big game, maybe next player is 10 meters away. The ball touch, his first touch is gone, no problem, I get it back. But small-sided game is pressure by space, time, and maybe also opponent player. Anything else?
Skill development.
Skill development, exactly. It's just summarized. Skill development means like passing, controlling, and defense and offense as well. Because if we play four-side or five-a-side, I think all players attacking and all players doing the defense. If I play 11-a-side, a few are attacking offense and the rest may be defense. 4-a-side game, no. And we can easily switch position, right? I think it's important. Young children, I never say you are my defender for the whole year and you are my striker. I don't even say you are my goalkeeper. I think even if you're working with children, you swap on the goalkeeper position as well. So we said they can develop new tricks. I think it's also important just to let them try. You know, if they try a feint or whatever, and if they lose the ball, personally I think it's okay, because it helps them to make it better next time. If they don't try, they will never get it to do it in the match situation. I think it's okay to let them develop new tricks. We already said it's like constant attacking and defending. The ball goes usually like up and down and up and down. All the time you need to switch from offense to defense. Last part of the sentence, game becomes the best teacher. I think it's also important that the game is a teacher. So if they don't manage to score, they will realize by themselves what I did wrong, what do I have to do better. So game is also a teacher, not just the coach, just the whole situations help them to improve. And motivational atmosphere all the time. I think especially kids, they want to win, right? So it's just the game just motivates them. If you do exercises all the time, it's a little bit difficult. But if you play a game, usually kids, they will just want to win. That's why games are always motivating them. And also like you can figure out something about leadership, because usually in a 4- or 5-side game, some player will take more responsibility than the others. And we already said this as well, lots of shots on the goal. You can actually, we see later, we have some sort of pictures. You can use a 4-sided game with a real goal and the goalkeeper, but you can also take some corners and just passing goals. I think it's up to you. You have to decide as a coach. If you have 2 goalkeepers, you can use the goal. If you have one, it depends on the equipment. If you don't have a goalkeeper or maybe no goal, just take some corners and do the passing goal or maybe a dribble goal. It's up to you. I mean, we said the first day, if you prepare your training, you have to have in mind what equipment do I have, what pitch. And so up to these facts, you have to decide whether you use goalkeeper or not. What do kids like better? Playing with goalkeeper or without? What do you think? If you're working with children, what do you like better? Having a goal with a goalkeeper or just corners, pass goals? Goalkeeper, no? Everybody. I think same as us. If you play a game, all of us, you prefer to play with a goalkeeper, right? So I think if you have a goalkeeper, especially with children, you should, unless you maybe want to focus on dribbling and just take some corner and say it's a dribble goal. But if it's about motivation and scoring, of course, I think all soccer players or football players in the world, they will prefer to have a real goal and a real goalkeeper inside. Personally, I think this is one of the most important things. Play as a team, because if I have only 4 players, right, I need them all. Everybody must run and dribble and shoot. If I have 11 players, maybe 1 or 2, they can just watch the game, talk to anyone. It doesn't matter, there are 9 others doing the job, right? But if there are 4 players and 2 like this, it won't work. So this is in a small-sided game, you need all players on a pitch. To get it right, I don't mean tactical behavior, something like 4-2-3-1. It's about individual tactics. How to get the ball, what do I do if I have the ball, what do I do if the other team has the ball. There's something called individual tactic, which means always a single player. And there's something called group tactics, which can be 2, 3, 4, or 5 players. This is what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about team tactics, meaning the whole team of 11 players, obviously. Improving the technical skills, we already had this one. Improving the fitness. Of course, if only 4 players playing, everybody has to run. If I play 11 aside, I'm on the right wing. I maybe can take a break. It won't make me much fitter. But 4 aside, it's very intense. Very, very intense. So keep in mind, if you're talking about intensity, what is important? If it's really intense, players run. What do you have to do as a coach? Very important. Feeling success, understanding the rules. Rule means just basic rules. Foul, outside, if the ball goes outside, other team throws it in or kicks it in. Just very basic rule. And the feeling of success. I think if a player plays 11 aside at the age of 6 and he gets the ball 2 times in a match, he won't feel any success. If we play 4 aside, everybody will have some success. Maybe everybody will score or everybody will have an assist, which is, I think, according to my opinion, much better than the other way. Not all small-sided games are recommended for all ages. I said at the beginning, some small-sided game is also useful for a professional team if it's about tactics. Switching from offense defense we will do in the afternoon, and it's very complicated, so it's too much for children. In general, I think it's also important, if I work with children, I try to choose a game which involves preventing goals and scoring goals. That's what every child understands. If it's about very complicated rules and pass outside and move in like we did day before yesterday, you remember maybe we had these passing situations with the squares, I would actually never use with the small children because they don't understand why they have to do this. But they all understand if they play football, they must score and they must not allow the other team to score. That's what we should do if working with children, and not these very complicated tactical things. Because they might do it, but they will not understand why it's good for them. So this just shows the different stages of age and what we can do. Actually, 4-side we can play 6, 9, 10, 11, no problem. And just, if we play 9 versus 9, it's only for 11, 10. No? In 6 to 8 years old children, we should not play 9 versus 9. In general, as you can see, it's just, I think it's logic, that 4 versus 4 you can always play, from 6 until pro level. And the more players, the older the kids should be actually. Actually, some pro teams now try to pressure very quickly after they lose the ball, right? It's usually, this is just general for youth level because this is too complicated. But if you think about top team, they lose the ball and then they try to get the ball very quickly back again. It happens all the time. But only for a few seconds. So you lose the ball, 5 or 6 seconds high pressure, and then if they can't get the ball, then they fall back. That's what happened in the pro team. But to teach your players, I think it's too complicated for small players. So I would teach them first fall a little back, and on a higher level, of course, I try to get it back in the first few seconds, and if I don't manage, then I fall back. All this behavior with the ball and without ball, we can teach by using small-sided games. I think it's a really nice sentence, and yeah. It's not a question for the examination actually, but I think it's totally true what Kofi Annan said. As I said in the morning, different sorts of small-sided games. It's like one or two have more a tactical background. For example, we do something to switch from offense to defense and from defense to offense. We have other forms with another tactical background, which is more about to open a game. And we also have some small games focusing, for example, on passing and on dribbling, with scoring goals and preventing goals again. Very important is I try to give you many examples for different topics. For example, switching, for example, opening, and so on. It's not meant to be one session. If you were my team, it's not one session. I always concentrate in one session on one topic. So today it's not that this is one session to be copied, but it's just to give you different topics and different exercises for different tactical topics that you can use in the future. As a warm-up game, I generally would like to have 12 players participating again. So 12 players, please just come to me. As I always say, there must be like one idea. It's about the whole training. So if today we have small-sided games, passing, small spaces, I already started the warm-up game in a small space. I think all of you know the one which 5 players against 2. I think everybody knows. 5 players around, 2 players in the middle.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
It's a classic one all over the world. This is some variation in teams which can be a little bit more funny, but I will tell you that later. Please just make sure the green team first goes to the center and the rest of the players just green team, don't wait for them. Yellow team. And play on. Yellow. Don't wait. Not good. Orange. And just next ball. There are many balls inside the field. Just the next ball. Hey, come on, get it on, bring it on. Next ball, please. So all the time I have to be concentrated and see our option. I'll get a ball. And I already have 3 ideas what to do. If the ball is here and my brain starts thinking, it's too late. Okay, here. Oh. Hey!